house has been robbed.
So you think you're gonna get away with it?
You think you didn't leave a trace behind?
Oh, but you did. Ever heard of DNA? Yeah, we'll know who you are.
After all, your DNA is yours alone.
So get ready, because you're not going to escape from this.
Let the DNA analysis begin. We went in the Spruce Cottage, and so we went into separate rooms to look for evidence and to find things that we could collect DNA on.
My role is the person that takes the case notes down, so I'm the person, so if they see something that's out of the ordinary, like that bloody Band-Aid on the air hockey table, I'm supposed to write that down so we can keep track of it later.
I'm photographing the evidence for the crime scene. We're trying to solve the crime. I'm taking pictures of the things that look out of place, or stuff that wasn't here before.
My job is to put evidence markers down, collect the evidence, and write down a description of it.
We had them collect evidence at the crime scene cottage. So we want to give them a taste of the reality of how long it actually takes to process this type of evidence, because sometimes on television and some of the crime shows, they don't show how involved it really is. And we want to show them that you have to have a certain amount of patience, you have to be somewhat diligent in your note-taking, and it's an opportunity to bring them in and let them do the real thing with real equipment.
Kind of when your expectation is that you can go into a crime scene in heels and pencil skirts and find all this information and just easily solve the crime. And so it's a lot different than what you see on TV, because you don't really see much of the science behind it and how much work they actually do towards solving what it is.
Learned about what the micropipettes do. It collects water, like it sucks up a small amount of liquid, and they are specially measured to collect varied amounts of liquid. And we learned how to use them, how to adjust the maximum amount of liquid that it can hold, and how to carefully deposit it so we don't lose any along the way or get air bubbles.
We're going to extract the DNA, right? And what are we going to extract it from? The evidence? That's the second thing. What are we going to do first? You guys, I'm going to extract it from you, basically, right? Took their own cells from inside of their cheeks, and then they extracted the DNA. They also went to the evidence that they'd collected, and they figured out where the DNA might be, and then they extracted those samples. But you want to make sure you note that in your notes.
So I cut off the filter for each one to check to see if there's any saliva or any other DNA evidence on the filter.
Cool gel electrophoresis activity where they built their own gel electrophoresis box, and then they ran different colored dyes, and they were trying to solidify the concept that we can use different techniques to separate DNA and visualize DNA.
We used the electricity to push the colors out separately into the jello so that it was like you can see the yellow and blue of the green. So like if we had DNA, we can extract like the specific parts of the DNA, and we can see if they were the same, if they went out the furthest into the gelatin, or if they like one was smaller and one was longer than the other.
Like making alleles with chocolate and tinfoil, where they were like different strand numbers. So you put the amount of chocolate in there, and you put it by different distances so other groups could figure out what strands they were by looking at it.
They've enjoyed the activities, and I think that the activities have solidified the scientific concepts that we're trying to get through to them. I think overall we've had a really good reaction to the camp.
We're analyzing DNA to hopefully solve the case. We're comparing the DNA that was left on some things at the scene to the DNA of the suspects.
They're analyzing their own profiles, which is really cool because they get to see their own DNA profiles. And then they're also looking at evidence that they collected earlier in the week from a case.
We got samples from each suspect and then samples from the cup, and some of them had matched up with the evidence we found. Like Rodney was responsible for the cigarette butt and the cup, like the saliva, and we found that Muddy was also responsible for the soda can and the bloody Band-Aid.
I am writing up the process of all of the DNA typing. So basically just like an overview.
We're inserting pictures that we've taken of evidence onto our slideshow for tomorrow for the case presentation.
So now we're finishing up the practicing for our presentation in the courtroom. Wish us luck.